Welcome to Pharmaste NAPLEX Preparation Coach. Today, we're taking those incredibly dense infectious disease topics and organizing them into clean clinical patterns so those board exam questions are so much easier to tackle.
But before we begin, take a slow breath in and gently breathe out. Think of one person who has helped you reach this point in your pharmacy journey. Let that gratitude settle your mind. You know, today's topic can feel like an impossibly long list of bacteria and antibiotics, but we're going to organize it into patterns so it becomes way easier to remember and actually apply. Today, we're connecting common pathogens with commonly used active antibiotics. The goal isn't just memorizing random lists. No, the goal is to recognize the organism, identify the likely active options, consider the infection site, and apply core stewardship principles.
Oh, and hey, if this lesson helps you, please like, share, and subscribe so this explainer can reach more students preparing for the NAPLEX or similar pharmacy exams. Sharing this content might just help another student out there who really needs a clear, organized way to review infectious diseases.
All right, our explainer today is going to progress logically. 1. Navigating staphylococcal infections. 2. Tackling VRE target therapies. 3. Everyday gram-negatives and atypicals. 4. Highly resistant gram-negative rods. 5. Anaerobes and Clostrididae difficile. And 6. NAPLEX clinical stewardship application. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Navigating staphylococcal infections. Okay, let's dive right into this foundational group of gram-positives, starting with Staphylococcus aureus. Trust me, this is an organism you're going to see constantly on the exam and out in practice. Let's look at how we manage methicillin-sensitive Staph aureus, or MSSA, versus community-acquired MRSA. Now, for MSSA, we have some really fantastic beta-lactam options. Think of your anti-staphylococcal penicillins like dicloxacillin, nafacillin, and oxacillin, or your first and second generation cephalosporins, along with amoxicillin/clavulinate. But notice how our empiric therapy completely shifts when moving to community-acquired MRSA for skin and soft tissue infections. The resistance mechanism totally knocks out those standard beta-lactams. So now we have to lean heavily on specific oral agents. We're talking SMX/TMP, doxycycline, minocycline, clindamycin, and linezolid. Take a quick second to mentally log those oral options. But what happens when that skin infection gets severe? When a patient requires hospitalization and IV treatment for severe skin infections caused by MRSA or streptococci, we have to escalate to the heavy hitters. We've got our major weapons like vancomycin, linezolid, tedazolid, deptamycin, and ceftaroline. And remember, ceftaroline is super unique because it's the only cephalosporin with MRSA coverage. We also have long-acting lipoglycopeptides like telavancin, orativancin, and delbavancin, plus quinopristin/dalfopristin and tigecycline. Now for hospital-acquired or nosocomial MRSA, our targeted list narrows down significantly. We're primarily looking at vancomycin, linezolid, daptomycin, and telavancin. Now here's a strict stewardship rule you absolutely must know for the boards. You have to check the vancomycin minimum inhibitory concentration, or MIC. If that MIC is 2 or higher, you've got to consider alternatives because honestly, the clinical failure rates just skyrocket. All right, let's test your exam instincts really quick. Based on the options we just talked about for severe and nosocomial MRSA, which active agent should absolutely never be used if the patient has pneumonia? Yep, it's daptomycin. Always remember that while daptomycin is excellent for MRSA bacteremia or severe skin infections, lung surfactant actually binds to it and inactivates it. That makes daptomycin completely useless for treating MRSA pneumonia. Recognizing an active drug that gets inactivated by the specific site of infection is a classic NAPLEX trap you don't want to fall for. Section 2. Tackling VRE target therapies. Let's keep moving and see how this builds into our next really challenging gram-positive category, enterococci, specifically vancomycin-resistant enterococci, or VRE. The NAPLEX absolutely loves to test your ability to differentiate between species here. There's a distinct clinical difference between E. faecalis and E. faecium. E. faecalis is generally the friendlier of the two, I guess you could say. It often remains susceptible to standard agents like penicillin G or ampicillin, alongside linezolid, daptomycin, and tigecycline. E. faecium, on the other hand, is notorious for being way more resistant. For VRE faecium, you're forced to bypass those penicillins entirely and use agents like daptomycin, linezolid, quinopristin/dalfopristin, or tigecycline. However, the infection site matters immensely. If your patient specifically has an uncomplicated VRE urinary tract infection or cystitis, stewardship principles dictate we avoid those systemic big guns.
Instead, we use VRE cystitis-only options, urine-concentrating agents like nitrofurantoin, fosfomycin, and doxycycline. They clear the bladder perfectly without applying unnecessary broad-spectrum pressure on the rest of the patient's body.
Section 3. Everyday gram-negatives and atypicals. Okay, we're leaving the gram-positives behind for a bit and transitioning into the gram-negative world, starting with the common community pathogens.
The HNPEK group covers everyday gram-negatives like Haemophilus, Neisseria, Proteus, E. coli, and Klebsiella. These are your usual suspects in community-acquired pneumonias and typical UTIs. Fortunately, our empiric options here are pretty broad. We can rely on beta-lactam/beta-lactamase inhibitors, amoxicillin if they are beta-lactamase negative, cephalosporins except the first-gen ones, carbaminums, SMX/TMP, aminoglycosides, and quinolones. You really don't need a sledgehammer for these everyday pathogens unless you know about specific resistance patterns.
Now, atypical organisms pose a totally different structural challenge. They lack a traditional cell wall, which means beta-lactams, which work by destroying cell walls, are totally ineffective here. So the crucial point is that you must select agents that target internal cellular mechanisms. Macrolides like azithromycin and clarithromycin, tetracyclines like doxycycline and minocycline, or the quinolones are your absolute go-to classes for atypical coverage. Section 4. Highly resistant gram-negative rods. All right, the clinical tension rises here. We're stepping into the ICU and facing the heavy hitters, highly resistant gram-negative rods. Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Acinetobacter baumannii are notorious hospital-acquired pathogens. While both require aggressive, broad-spectrum coverage, like carbapenems, aminoglycosides, colistamate, or polymyxin B, their targeted therapies actually differ significantly. Pseudomonas has a specialized suite of active drugs like pip/tazo, cefepime, ceftazidime, ceftolozoline tazo, cipro, levo, and astronam. Acinetobacter, conversely, uniquely responds to ampicillin-sulbactam, minocycline, tigecycline, and SMX-TMP. It's really important to keep these specialized lists straight. Now, here's a crucial board exam pearl you really need to memorize regarding the carbapenem class. Both Pseudomonas and Acinetobacter can be treated with carbapenems, except ertapenem. Ertapenem totally lacks activity against both of them, so whatever you do, do not select it for these infections on your exam.
And unfortunately, the resistance doesn't stop there. When standard gram-negative rods mutate to produce extended-spectrum beta-lactamases, or ESBLs, carbapenems become your drug of choice, along with options like ceftazidime avibactam, ceftolozane tazobactam, and aminoglycosides. But if they mutate even further into CREs, carbapenem-resistant Enterobacteriaceae, even standard carbapenems fail. For CREs, we have to escalate to highly specialized agents like ceftazidime avibactam, colistamate, polymyxin B, meropenem vaborbactam, or imipenem celastatin relebactam.
Section 5. Anaerobes and Clostridioides difficile. Let's wrap up our pathogen review with the hidden threats residing primarily in the oxygen-deprived environments of our bodies, the gut. Bacteroides fragilis is a major anaerobic pathogen causing deep intra-abdominal infections. Metronidazole is historically exceptional here, along with beta-lactam/beta-lactamase inhibitors, cefotatin, cefoxitin, carbapenems, and tigecycline. Keep in mind, moxifloxacin has reduced activity here. Meanwhile, for Clostridioides difficile, our strategy is super localized. C. diff specifically requires targeted therapies inside the GI tract, primarily oral vancomycin, fidaxomicin, or metronidazole in certain scenarios. Section 6. NAPLEX Clinical Stewardship Application. Okay, we've covered a vast landscape of pathogens and drugs. So the really crucial point here is knowing how to actually apply this pathogen to drug map in a clinical scenario on exam day. On the NAPLEX, they're going to test your clinical workflow. Step 1 is selecting empiric therapy based on the suspected site and severity. Step 2 is culture and susceptibility interpretation when those results return. Step 3 is switching to targeted therapy matching the identified pathogen. And step 4, the absolute hallmark of clinical stewardship, is de-escalation. We narrow our spectrum to avoid unnecessary broad-spectrum coverage. We switch from IV vancomycin down to oral SMX/TMP when cultures allow it, which preserves our big gun antibiotics and protects the patient. Keep practicing these clinical patterns. Don't just memorize the list, really learn the why behind the choices. Trust your organized knowledge. If you can confidently walk through empiric coverage, recognize exceptions like daptomycin in the lungs, and de-escalate based on cultures, you're absolutely going to master the infectious diseases section. So knowing this framework, how will you identify opportunities to de-escalate therapy and demonstrate clinical mastery on your upcoming board exam? Think about that during your next practice block. Good luck studying, you've got this.